Hey there, in this video we're going to continue our work with ellipses. This is part 2 of the videos. We're going to continue with some more examples. So in this one we want to find an equation of the ellipse that satisfies the given conditions. So we're given the foci and the vertices, which means we want to find the equation of the ellipse, right? So the equation of an ellipse is either x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. Or, so this is if the major axis is horizontal, or x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1 if the major axis is vertical. So this is vertical major axis, and this, the a, remember the a is the larger one. So for both of these, a is greater than b. So this will be a horizontal major axis. All right, so let's see what we have. So we're given the foci. So then I know based on this, remember the foci is plus or minus c, 0. So that means that c is equal to the square root of 15. And notice that because we're given the coordinates as plus or minus c is 0, that means that the foci here is horizontal. Which means that we have this equation. So it's going to be a major horizontal, the major axis will be horizontal. So now I have C, clean that up a little bit, this is square root of 15. And now you also know the vertices. So the vertices are always given for the major axis. So this gives us the A, so major axis, and now we already know that this is under the X. So that means that from the vertices is plus or minus a 0, and we're given that this is plus or minus 6, 0. So from here I can deduce that a must be 6. All right, so now I know that the equation of my ellipse is this one, with the major axis being horizontal. So far I know that x squared over 36 plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. So we need to find b. So how do we find b? If I know a and I know c. So we already know c is equal to the square root of 15 and that a is equal to 6. And so now we're going to use that other equation of the foci that c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. And we're going to solve for b. So I'm going to have the square root of 15 squared is going to be equal to 6 squared minus b squared. And solve for b. So 15 is equal to 36 minus b squared. Subtract 36 from both sides. So I'm going to get negative 21 is equal to negative b squared. Divide both sides by a minus 1. So 21 is equal to just b squared. Take the square root. So plus or minus the square root of 21 is equal to b. And so now we can finish our equation. So I can say, because now that we have b, well, really, I just want to stop here. I'm looking for b squared. B squared is 21. So I can say this is x squared over 36 plus y squared over 21 equals 1. And that's the equation of an ellipse with the foci at plus or minus the square root of 15 and vertices plus or minus 6. So again, just because they gave us the x values and zeros on the y's, that's how I know that I have a horizontal major axis. So let's try a second example. So same thing, find the equation of an ellipse with, now we're given the eccentricity, the foci is on the y-axis, and the length of the major axis is 12. So again, we want the equation of an ellipse. So what we want is either x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1, or the vertical one, x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1, right? For both of these, remember that a is the larger one. just depending, do we have a horizontal major axis or do we have a vertical major axis? So let's see, how can I tell from here? So notice here that it says the foci is on the y-axis. So that means that the coordinates of the foci are going to be what? If it's on the y-axis, it's going to be x is 0, and we're going to have plus or minus c. So this tells me that I have a vertical major axis. And so now how do we find everything? The eccentricity, I know E is the square root of 5 over 3. And we also know that E is the ratio of C over A. So that means this is going to be C over A. So if I knew C or if I knew A, I could solve for the other one. So let's go back to the problem. So I know the eccentricity. Foci on the y-axis told us that it was a vertical major axis. What we haven't used is the length of the major axis is 12. We know now that the major axis is vertical. So this means that the length is 12, so 2a is equal to 12. Remember, the length of the major axis is double a. So a is equal to, divide both sides by 2, so you get 6. So a is 6, so now I can go back to my eccentricity and plug it in there. And so I can say then the square root of 5 over 3 is equal to c over a. We just found a to be 6 because of the length of the major axis. And solve for c. Treat like a proportion, so cross multiply. So I'm going to have 6 root 5 is equal to 3c, or you could just multiply both sides by 6 actually, because now here I have to divide again by 3. So c is equal to 2 root 5. So that's what my c equals. And let's see, what are we after? So remember, we're after this equation. So now that I know that we have a major axis is vertical, I know that we want this equation. So I have a, so let's write it down. So I'm going to have x squared over b squared equals y squared, plus y squared over a squared. We just found a to be 6, so over 36 is equal to 1. So we're looking for b. So that's why we need to go find c, because the only way to get b is once I have c, remember that c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared. Since the eccentricity helps me find a and c, so with a and c, now I can find b. So c is 2 square root of 5, so c squared is 2 square root of 5 squared equals a squared, which is 36 minus b squared. And solve for b. I did this kind of convoluted. So this will be 4 times 5, which is 20, equals 36 minus b squared. So 20 minus 36 equals b squared. And negative b squared. So negative 16 equals negative b squared. Divide by negative 1. So this tells us that b is 4. Plus or minus 4, but we take the positive one. So now we can go back and finish our equation. So it'll be x squared over 4 squared, which is 16. So our final equation would be x squared over 16 plus y squared over 36 equals 1. So that will be our final equation. So always keep in mind, what is it that you're looking for? So we're looking for the equation. So it's either this one or this one. So something in the problem is going to give you the information that you either have a vertical major axis or a horizontal major axis, and then you will know your A. So here, from the foci being on the y-axis, I know then that I have a vertical major axis. And the length of the major axis is 12, so I can find my A right away. So from this point, really from here, to be more organized, once I find A, I would have gone to this equation. X squared over b squared plus y squared over 36 equals 1. And then here we realize, okay, I need B. How do I find B? Well, we know that c squared is equal to a squared minus b squared, so I need to find c, and that's where the eccentricity comes in. So given the eccentricity, in knowing that the eccentricity is the ratio c over a, we can find c. Once you have c, use c and a to find b. And once we have b, we have our full equation. Now if you want to graph it, you can see what this will look like. So major axis on the y-axis, so this is going to be an elongated ellipse with that's 36 under the y squared, so this is really 6 squared, so we're going to go 6 and negative 6 and 4, right? The square root of 16 is 4, and 4 and negative 4 on the x, and so then you would again with my beautiful ellipses, so there you go. And then the foci, we got it to be, we were told, well, the foci is 2 square root of 5. So put that in the calculator and see where that puts you, and then you can label it. So that will be, it's on the y-axis, right? So that will be x is 0 and y is 2 root 5 for the positive focus, and then the negative, the focus that's on the negative side will be on the y-axis, right? So 0 and then negative 2 root 5. If you were asked to graph it as well. But that is how you find the equation of an ellipse given certain information about it. So as you may notice, some of the things that you have to know in order to be able to find the equation of an ellipse is decide, so first thing is decide which equation do you need. Is it x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1? Or is it x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1? So essentially, do you have a major axis horizontal or a major axis vertical? So we need to know these two equations. The other thing that we're using quite a bit is the c squared part. C squared equals a squared minus b squared. So things to know. And the eccentricity is the ratio c over a, and the other thing that we are using quite a bit is the length of the major axis is 2a, and depending on what else you're given, right, you might be given the length of the minor axis instead. So the length of the minor axis is 2b. And so these are things that are going to help you find the equation of an ellipse given certain conditions. Email me if you have any questions.